It's in our standing stones, our Anasazi ruins, our Indian burial mounds. It's the remains of the old ones, the original people, the deep ancestors of our forgotten history. The history before Columbus that is never taught in the schools because we don't know it ourselves. Because we don't want to know, don't want to accept what has been proved so many times in the past. That this land of ours is haunted by the ghosts of races who lived and died on our land thousands of years before we came, and of races we ourselves exterminated with fire and sword and virus. That's from Sinister Forces, a grimoire of American political witchcraft, book 1 to 9 by author Peter Levenda, an excellent book, excellent series, highly recommended yet again. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Stench of Truth. Two very quick things I want to point out. Trying my videos on a high-def camera for the first time. We'll see how this works out. And I've gone over 2,000 subscribers, and I wanted to thank all of my subscribers for the long-haul ones that have been with me from the beginning, and for all of you new ones, all of my thanks to you for sticking by me and for joining up. I appreciate it. Now, in answer to what to do about the agendas that face us every day, in every way in our lives here in this country, there are things that we can do. And the principal thing that can and should be done is that heads must roll. Where there are breakdowns in security, and you would expect that if there are breakdowns in security, that the people responsible will be held accountable. And that is what must be done in a society that values freedom and that has as its purpose security and safety, and not a police state agenda. The fact that they have a police state agenda does not absolve us of the responsibility of doing what we can to hold those people accountable who have failed to do their jobs. The number one person on the list to have their head rolling is Janet Napolitano. For all of the things that she has done and has failed to do as head of Homeland Security, she needs to be fired immediately. So, I highly suggest that you talk to your congressmen and senators and the president and tell them that Janet Napolitano has to go for completely failing to do her job and for characterizing returning veterans and certain right-wing folks as potential homeland terrorists without any proof whatsoever and relying on ridiculous data supplied by the Southern Poverty Law Center and the ADL. She couldn't even be bothered to do any kind of research herself. And now, because of the security breakdown with the underwear bomber guy, she has to go. So Janet Napolitano, your head's got to roll. Now, other heads have to roll as well. We have to find out where the breakdown was, whether it was done on purpose or accidentally or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. People have to be held accountable. And then, if it was a legitimate problem, it needs to be fixed. So demand from your congresspeople, your senator, and everybody else that this be investigated and that the problem be found out and the problem be fixed, and that no more onerous shit is put on our backs. Now, as far as the elite agenda stemming from the banking industry and the finance houses, the second person's head who has to roll is Ben Bernanke at the Federal Reserve. Fire him! Tell your congressman and senator that you will not stand for him being reappointed. Well, just your senator, actually. They're the ones that do the confirmation. Tell them you will not sit by and you will not accept it. Ben Bernanke's got to go to end that grip of the financial insiders outside of our government. Ben Bernanke, your head has to roll. You need to be fired. Tell your senator to fire him. Do not reappoint him. The other thing is, address the issue of the provisions of the Patriot Act, which are due to expire at the end of this month, which is tomorrow. Now, unless there's an emergency session of Congress which will call that in and make it up, perhaps it will have at least a few days of being expired. But I have no doubt that the police state agenda will want to extend those provisions of the Patriot Act even further. So make your voice heard and tell your representatives that you do not want those provisions of the Patriot Act that are due to expire at the end of this month to be continued. You want them to be allowed to expire as the law originally said. Other heads, of course, have to roll. People that need to be removed from their offices, either for high crimes and misdemeanors or for kowtowing to a certain group or for failing to do their job for the people of this country. Timothy Geithner, because of his connection to Goldman Sachs. You've got to be fired and your head has to roll. Contact your senators and your congresspeople and the president's office and tell him that you do not want Goldman Sachs running the government. And just for the few commenters who have told me that I am putting too much emphasis on Goldman Sachs, let me make it clear. They are only the flagship for the entire financial sector and Wall Street. I do not mean to disparage J.P. Morgan Chase and Morgan Stanley and all of the other hoodoos and big fucking shots on Wall Street by not mentioning them by name. Goldman Sachs should serve as the flagship brand because they're the ones who are at the forefront of it all. And they're the ones who have so many prominent people in the administration. So Timothy Geithner has to go. Your head has to roll. Larry Summers, head rolls. These are things that we can demand. And these are steps that we can take to try to derail the agendas that are behind the scenes. And as I've said before, it is too soon to speak of armed resistance, as some would like to jump to, because neither do we have numbers, nor do we even have the right to do so yet. And why do I say right? Because all men, in my view, must exhaust every option that's available to them before they resort to violence. And that is the bottom line. There may come a day for it, but it's not today, and it's not tomorrow. Thank you. Good night.